All right. Well, hello and welcome to the Calm Waves podcast. I am Dallas Cowan, joined by Dr. Douglas Cowan, and we haven't done one of these in a while. We have not done a joint podcast with Dr. Cowan and myself. We've done some interviews and we've done things like that over the course of the last couple months. Part of what we want to do for 2025 is do more of these types of more discussions of what's kind of going on in our world, what we're working on, and kind of share it with you as an audience in this podcast type of form. Dad, welcome again.
Yeah, thanks, Dal. It's great to be here and to do this with you. This is so fun.
Yeah, so it started 2025. We're starting up this new year of kind of some exciting things of as we've been on this journey with Calm Waves as being curators. I mean, I think that's one thing that I think we've been able to do is over the journey that I've seen is being able to find the best products or products that help people, that are simple to use, and provide it for them and give them information on it and educate them on it. We've done that with the Calm Box. That's been a huge component that's really helped out a lot of people with their anxiety, with their focus. It's been such a cool product. The direct neurofeedback has been such a cool product especially in the institution kind of level, in the therapist level, on the organizational level. And we'll go into that a little bit later. But other things like tapping and just other little like techniques and things that we've been able to introduce to people that, we're curating them all. None of them are ourselves, coming up with them. It's just going, all right, here's something, you've got this issue, like here's a program to do. Here's insight that you can have. And one of the things I'm really excited about is this newer product that, you've been able to experience more than I have, but you got introduced. This is called, the patches is what we call it, the patches. But I'd love for you to talk about the patches and how this is going to be integrated into our system and just how we provide solutions for people. So I'd love for you to kind of talk about the patches and just what you've seen with them.
Yeah. So the patch, this is a patch here.
The patch, there it is.
I'm wallpapered in patches sometimes. Yeah, a friend of mine called me 5 months ago, and I've known him for a long time. Mom had known him since junior high school or something. And so he called and he said, "Look, Doug, I know you're doing these brain things with really small amounts of energy, subtle energy, like the direct neural feedback. It's 5 million times less than the energy on your cell phone." So it said. I mean, basically that's a way of saying we haven't really measured it. We don't really know, but it's really small. And the CES units, it's more, but it's not very much. It's really teeny weeny tiny amounts of energy. So he says, "I know you're doing that, but the brain, we have a product that I'm involved with now. The last couple of years, been involved with it, selling these patches that do very teeny weeny tiny energy for the body. So they're called photobiomodulation technologies. So they got a big name, just like we got neuromodulation technology.
Cranial electrical therapy stimulation.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Exactly. We got big words too. So, yeah, he says, no, what it is in the same way that, like with the neurofeedback, we wire somebody up and we get their brain waves. And the brain waves go into my system through the amplifier, and the system analyzes it, sends a signal back through the amplifier. And so there's 4 AA batteries making that all happen. That in this case, with the patches, the human body is the battery. The body generates the energy that's reflected back into the body, but it's reflected back like it's infrared, like goggles, you see people, infrared light that we emit, the heat and the infrared energy. So it reflects that back into the body. But in the same way the neurofeedback and the CES units work with specific frequencies, CES Calm Box, 100 hertz, alternating current. Direct neurofeedback, it's between, let's say, 5 hertz and 20 hertz, typically driven by a person's own dominant brain wave with a slight offset. Well, these frequencies are light frequencies that are mirrored back into the body, but specific frequencies. And they're frequencies to make the body do something in particular. So there's a particular frequency that makes the body make more vitamin D. You go out in the sun, certain frequency of the sunlight makes the body make more about vitamin D. Another frequency from sunshine makes the body get tan, or like that. So these are little mirrors in here, crystalline things that reflect back a certain frequency. So the one that got me most interested right away, because of my age, is the one that sends a particular frequency back into the body, makes more of a copper peptide. So copper peptide is something that does cool stuff in the body if you can elevate it. And these little mirrors elevate copper peptide in the body. And copper peptide, one of the things it does when it gets elevated in the body is it wakes up dormant stem cells. So as we age, starting at about the age of 30, stem cell activity goes like this. And they don't die, they just go to sleep because they're old. They feel used up. So they go to the stem cell retirement home. And by the time you get my age, they say over 90% of the stem cells are just like done. And in the 70s, like 95%, they're just done. So that's why it takes me longer to heal. I got I sprained my ankle, and it took like 7 months for this thing to heal. And it just takes longer for stuff because I don't have the stem cell activity going to redo things. The copper peptide wakes up these stem cells, and over a period of a year, they say at least a third of those dormant stem cells will come back active in just a year. So that turns back the clock to like how I was in my late 40s or 50s. So I was fascinated by this. So we said, okay, we'll try it. And we started with these patches. And after 2 months, Mom says, your hair is darker and thicker and your bald spot is smaller and you're growing your hair back. I'm like, all right, that's weird. And her scars from, little dermatological, that's a pre-cancer thing. Let's just carve that out. Her scars are going away and her hair's thicker. And my skin got thicker. So I'm like, this is weird. Like I used to bang something and I'd need a Band-Aid right away because I'd tear the skin off my hand. My skin's thicker. So these little tiny changes, subtle changes are happening, reflecting changes that are happening inside my skin. So we've been doing it 5 months and using a bunch of different patches that do a bunch of different things. So today I jogged 2 miles, which doesn't seem like much. But 4 years ago, my knee surgeon said, there will be no more running in your life, or we'll give you a new knee. Which would you prefer? And I said, I'll keep my knee, and I'll stop running and just walk. And today I jogged 2 miles, no pain at all, which is like totally awesome. And I have more energy and such. So I can ramble all day, but let me kind of go real fast for people listening about the deal. 20 years ago, this guy, David Schmidt, invented a product in a submarine. He was working for a submarine company that was making a project for a 2-man sub for the Navy SEALs. And because he had invented other stuff for bigger subs that they thought was really cool, they said, hey, do you want to look at this project? And he said, sure. So he looked at all the stuff and he said, the biggest need that I can help with is we got to keep the SEALs awake for 30, 40 hours on these missions. You want to pump them up with amphetamine, and I think there's a different way to do it. Let me figure it out. So he made what are now called energy enhancer patches. And they're 20 years old. I'm wearing 2 of them. That's one of them right there. One of them's over here. They're on different acupuncture sites. And I move them around every day in different acupuncture points. So the energy enhancers, Mom wears them playing pickleball. She'll do 2.5 hours of pickleball and not get tired. Like she's cheating. Seriously. It's not fair. So the story is that 9/11 happens, he develops this. Department of Defense pays for the development. He develops it. It's his invention. They're sticking them on Navy SEALs. They're working out. They're bigger, stronger, faster when they're wearing them. They can lift more. They have more strength endurance. They can do more reps. They can stay up. They can do all these things that are great. And then 9/11 happens, and the project's canceled, and he's out of a job. So he says, well, I got to figure out how to sell these things. So he's got a friend at Stanford who was the Stanford swim coach. And he says, I got these Navy SEAL things. You want to try them with your swimmers? The guy's like, sure. So the Stanford swim team starts wearing them. And within days, the swimmers are getting personal records. They're doing well NCAA. This is, again, 20 years ago. And guys are going to world championships. And then what really happens, it's amazing, they go to the Olympics. And this guy named Michael Phelps gets out of the pool after he wins his 8th gold medal. And he's out of the pool like this, and he's wearing these 2 energy patches. Never endorsed the product, but he's wearing the energy patches, winning his 8th gold medal. So people are going, what is that? I want them. All these athletes are going, I want them. And then some guy, John, I don't know what his name was, he wins the world's strongest man competition. And he rips off his shirt, screaming, yeah, I'm the world's strongest man. And he's wearing these 2 energy patches. And so all these athletes are starting to go, all right, what's the deal? So he starts a company selling energy patches. And the swim coach at Stanford quits and helps him start this company. That's 20 years ago. So yeah, it's a direct sales company. And I'm happy to sell the patches to whoever's listening here. So then he's developed about another 13, 14 patches that do different things. From activating mitochondria, to optimizing internal organs, to helping the function of the frontal lobes in the brain, to the stem cell patches, and the sister patches to the stem cell patches actually help decrease fat content in the body and increase lean muscle mass in the body. So it's an athlete combination. They sell as their performance package for athletes. And so there are 20 years of development of these products, millions of dollars they invest in them. Like I was shocked. They worked a lot with some university in Ireland that's like working on reverse aging in people, and the products actually developed or manufactured in Ireland. They make 22 million patches a month. They sell 22 million patches a month. And they're huge in Asia, they're huge in Europe, and not that huge in America. But for the direct sales companies in America, they're the fastest growing one, and they expect that they'll do $900 million worth of sales this year. So it's like a legit thing. It's just new to me. It's new to us at Calm Waves. And like I asked, where have I been? I would have liked to have started using these things with clients 10 years ago. So it's sort of the newest part of our product line is these patches by LifeWave. And yes, we're going to sell them. And we're going to use them with our clients. And we're going to recommend them to all of our athletes because, and they got research. Like they got 90 research studies on these 13 different, 12 different patches. College football teams that have, research project with the energy patches. There's a lot of stuff out there. It's just new to me, and I feel embarrassed that I didn't know about these 10 years ago. But I know about them now.
That's amazing. I mean, I think when you were started talking about the patches and what it was, I had the moment of like, this sounds too good to be true. I think I've had that with people telling me about, even about the CES unit or the direct neurofeedback of, hey, you just put something on your head and you hit a button and your anxiety goes away. Like it's the same kind of reaction, but I was on the other side of it. So it's been really cool to see just the impact, personally on you. But also I want you to explain a little bit about, one, I would love to hear you about, how would you, if you're seeing a client with anxiety, with, an athlete with anxiety or any of those types of things, how would you use these patches in order to help them? Like, because they're talking about performance. I mean, we've talked about this before too, is, performance is Also a health thing. If you want to be more healthy, you're going to have better performance. If all of those types of things. So how would you walk through this process with an athlete just around the patches? Because this is kind of a newer thing. I think we've talked a lot about the CES unit. We've talked a lot about direct neural feedback, but patches are, stick them on your hand and do what? Like, so tell me about just like practically of how that would look.
Yeah, when for an athlete coming in, let's say a college athlete, a
Mm-hmm.
professional athlete um, who is experiencing anxiety, so we want to do things that would regulate the limbic system, the autonomic nervous system. So they're out of the fight or flight and into more of a parasympathetic state so that they can have greater awareness. They have better peripheral vision when they're in that state. They um, they don't doubt themselves. They don't hesitate, and they perform better. So the CES unit is great for that as a portable unit. The direct neural feedback is great for that as a clinical grade treatment. And then there are two particular patches that also have been shown to help regulate that system. So what I am starting to do is people come in for neurofeedback, and I'm taking a patch called an AON patch. It's a third generation patch. Goes well with the other third generation patches. And I just put it on the back of their neck. And in 20 minutes, it will do what a CES unit will do in 20 minutes. So we get a synergistic effect. The direct neural feedback is doing great, and then they wear that patch home for the next 12 hours. They're getting the same kind of benefit. These patches you wear for 12 hours, throw it away, wait 12 hours, put another one back on. So the brain doesn't get used to them. The body doesn't get used to them. And yeah, they're just part of the trifecta now of things we can do for an athlete. And for an athlete now, so in terms of the trifecta, a football player can come into our office on Thursday, get direct neural feedback. On Friday and Saturday, do the direct neural feedback. Do the CES unit, the Calm Box, and start putting on these patches. And then on Sunday when they're playing, just wear the patch. Or that patch and the energy enhancing patch, or that patch and the stem cell patch and the energy patches. They can wallpaper themselves up with these patches because they actually do not put anything into your body.
Yeah, that was going to be my question is how do they, from an athlete standpoint who's worried about, doping and, all those types of things, how do these not fit into that category?
Yeah, they do not put anything into your body. There's no substance going into your body. So, like I have seen a couple of certificates from World Health Organizations, the World
Yeah.
Championships, that kind of stuff. They're certified like these are okay because they do nothing, right? They put nothing into your body except a certain frequency of your own light.
How would this compare to like red light therapy?
Yeah, yeah. So red light therapy is kind of the same thing. That if you walk into a room with a wall of red LEDs, it's not the whole spectrum of frequencies coming off the red lights. It's just specific frequencies within that beam of red light that gets your body to do stuff. So we know it's like, I don't even know how to put it, 5 something wave things. I don't know the math jargon from that for a wavelength. It stimulates mitochondria. FDA acknowledges that if you make a product that is at this wavelength, yes, it'll stimulate mitochondria, and we approve that. So a lot of red light technologies are trying to do that wavelength because they know it'll stimulate mitochondria, which is a good thing no matter who does it. And yeah, do these guys have a patch for that? Yeah, probably. Right. So that's how this company is working. It's like what wavelength does what stuff. So they would have a patch that's similar to what you get out of red light therapy, but you don't have to buy the system. You just stick a
Yes.
patch on. I mean, that's kind of how it works.
No, that makes a lot of sense. What I mean, again, my always question. So the wavelength is coming off of your body. So we have frequency coming off the body, and so because of how the patch is made, it's sending a wavelength back into the body. It's
Right. So we have a broad spectrum of infrared energy coming off of the
mhm.
body. It's a broad spectrum. So if you stick a mirror in front of you, and just I'm going to reflect this
Yeah,
light
yeah,
back
yeah,
of a
yeah,
mirror, it wouldn't do anything
yeah.
because it's too broad of a spectrum
Got it.
coming back. But if you could take that mirror and it would only reflect back like 635 whatever it is, hertz or what, I don't know what it is. If you had only reflected that back, you would get throughout your body systemically mitochondrial activation. And that's what the patches do, is they pick a specific frequency by the way the crystals are all
Hmm.
formed, and that's all it sends back. And then it works systemically. So I put these on acupuncture points because I found a great acupuncture site that just uses the patches instead of needles. And they said, yeah, use the energy patches in these 10 locations rotated through and you get more benefit out of it. Okay, so I'm just trying that. But like the stem cell activating patch, I just stick it on the back of my neck every day. But I could stick it anywhere. But right there, that's where they did the research on it. So I just put it on the site from the research studies. And it's interesting. Some of these are systemic. Some of them are specific. Like, can I tell the Uncle Steve story?
Oh yeah, going into the Uncle Steve story. Yes,
So, so my brother-in-law, Steve, Uncle Steve,
Steve.
15 years ago, he hurt his back at UPS. He was picking up a box. It was marked 40 pounds. It was like 90 pounds because they didn't want to pay the extra money to ship that heavy of a box. Blew his back out and injured him very badly. Ended up having to go on disability. And he's had at least 2 surgeries, maybe 3 back surgeries. Since then, they've fused stuff together in his back. He has every 6 months, he gets those shots to kill the pain. But he's been in pain for 15 years. So New Year's Eve day, we had met with him just before Thanksgiving and told him about the patches and said, hey, if you ever want to try them, let us know. And New Year's Eve day, he calls mom and he says, please, I've got to go in and get an ablation, or they're going to go burn some of the nerves so he doesn't feel as much pain, and a shot next week. And I just don't want to do that. It's just, none of this stuff is good for me. And it hurts when they do it. So I ran across the street before FedEx closed. We FedExed them some stuff. And on the Friday after New Year's, I told him about the acupuncture site. I showed him all the videos from the company. The company says, this is how you use a pain patch. And then the acupuncture site had their own ideas. And he puts there's pain patches are 2 patches. And he put the one on the site of the pain like he was supposed to. And then the other one, he did like what the company said. And he said it lowered his pain from an 8 to a 6. He's like, I'm sorry, it's not helpful because 6 is bad.
Mhm.
So 8's bad, but 6 is bad. 8 is like a Jim Gaffigan comedy routine,
Yeah.
right? Tell him it's an 8.
The
Get the shot.
femur. When you have a femur, that's a up there.
It's an 8. Yeah. So then he went to the acupuncture site and they said, no, put it on the other side of your body, the other patch, on the other side of your body, to complete like an electric circuit, an energy circuit. So it happened to be where the scar was from his surgery. So he put it there and he said within a minute it was a 1. Like it was just gone. And not only was the pain gone within a minute, but his body loosened up and he was more flexible because, your muscles tighten up when you're in pain. He said, this is the loosest I've been in years, within a minute of putting it on the right place. So he wore it all day, had no pain. This is 14 days now. And I just asked him, he's on the phone with mom downstairs. I just asked him, in the past 14 days, how many days have you had pain greater than a 2? And he said, just once. And for whatever reason, I couldn't get the pain back down below a 2. And I tried different things. It was like a 4. But all the other days, I either use the patches and it's a 1, or I don't use the patches and it's still a 1 or a 2. So he says, I've only used the patches 4 days in the past 14 days. And I'm a different person. This is incredible. And there's no drugs involved. So I'm talking to a drug treatment program director today, Wyatt, up in Northern California. And he's fascinated that his clinic is people hooked on pain meds. And, I mean, when I was a pastor, I've buried 7 friends who died of pain medication. So he's like, you got a pain patch that's not like a pain patch of medication? Yeah, there's no medications involved in this. It just completes an energy cycle that somehow the Chinese medicine guys and acupuncture guys understand. I don't understand it. It just works. He's like, yeah, I'm all about it. Let's go. For the athletes that are listening, how many athletes have NFL veterans like Jerome or, professional football players who live with pain, knee surgeries and back surgeries and whatever? If this thing could turn off pain without drugs, it'd be awesome. And for active players, if this thing could turn off pain without drugs, and you're wearing a couple of patches in the game instead of a cortisone shot, I mean, how much would that change your future, the story arc for you in your career? I mean, it's just fascinating. It's fascinating. I'm not an expert. I'm just saying this is what's happening. So Aunt Shelly, has migraines. And so she stuck these pain patches on the bottom of her feet and it stops her migraines. No medication. So I'm just telling you, this is weird, awesome. And there are some things we've come across that are weird, awesome. Direct neural feedback is weird, awesome. CES units, weird, awesome. Tapping for anxiety, weird, awesome. And these patches are weird, awesome.
So love it. What would you say is I mean, again, it's like, what is it doing? Like, how is it, and you said, I don't really know, but it works, which is awesome. But if you were to guess on what is happening, because I mean, someone putting them on and, pain is being, a couple of different things. Pain is a response in our brain. There's a part of our brain that is, saying, hey, pain's happening. You need to go fix this. That's a good thing. You don't, the people that have no pain responders are not, it's not a great thing. So, and then chronic pain is a thing. I know we've had with the CES unit, people that have chronic pain where they've used it and be like, I feel no pain anymore. So there is this receptacle that's in there that maybe is on all the time that shouldn't be on. Like your body's healed, but that's the connection going through. So in your theory of what you know about the brain and pain and kind of that way, what do you think is happening with the patches? Like, what do you think is being changed?
Yeah, so there's 2 things that are going on here. So one, with the instant pain gone thing that Steve experienced and is still experiencing. So at Chinese medicine, so the Chinese medicine thought is about energy flowing through our body, which I want to laugh at, except all the other big treatments that we do is energy flowing through the body.
It is.
So I can't laugh. It's just above the neck. It's what we're working on. But now it's through the body. So part of the theory that the acupuncturists work with is pain is energy getting jammed up at some place. And that if you allow the energy to flow, the pain goes away. So these patches, because there are 2 of these in the pain patches, 2 patches. One's a positive charge, one's a negative charge. You put one on the right side of your body, one on the left side of your body, or wherever they tell you to put it, and it allows the energy to flow past the pain, so it just turns off the pain. Doesn't heal you. The stem cell patches, give them 6 months or a year, they start the healing process, but it'll turn off your pain in the meantime. So that's the Chinese medicine thing, is can we get the energy to flow from where the pain is past that so you don't experience pain.
Mm.
The CES unit, the way that works, I got this from a book called Back in Control, and it's written by the #1 prescriber in America of Xanax. He's a back surgeon. He's up in Washington. Thought this is interesting. Why would a back surgeon be the #1 prescriber of Xanax, an anti-anxiety drug? It's because he said that a guy hurts his back, gets a back surgery, the surgeon does a great job. 3 months later, the guy's begging for another surgery or a different surgeon because he still feels the pain. So a surgeon goes in there and looks around and goes, "This looks great," and does he tinkers and then closes them up, and he knows everything's fine. Structurally, everything's fine. And 6 months later, the guy's going, "I'm still got this pain. So you, surgeon, you're fired. I'm going to another doctor." And then because he wants another surgery because his back still hurts. So this surgeon says, "Okay, I'm willing to look into that. We'll do the imaging, but the imaging looks really good. The MRIs look good. But I want you to do 2 weeks of Xanax. Let's see what happens." And the pain stopped. And the guy goes, "You don't actually need back surgery. We've got to work on what's going on in the limbic system. If the limbic system is like, the backbone comes up here, spinal cord comes up here to the middle of the brain called the limbic system, middle of the brain. You got two of them, left and right. And it's called the system because there's 22 different things that make up the limbic system. And this is the seat of most of our anxiety, depression, anger, sleep, wake, kind of goes back down here a little bit farther, but you got limbic system. So this is everything a tiger can do is right here, right? All those emotions a tiger can have. And so that's what we're looking at with anxiety or insomnia or depression or PTSD with the CES unit, with the calm boxes, because the energy from a calm box is going right through the limbic system, massaging this thing and calming it down, regulating, neuromodulating. Well, it's surrounded by the cortex, and when you get an acute injury, you break an arm, right? Then that pain goes up here, and it's all through the brain, and it's especially at the sensory motor strip, and it's saying you did something bad, right? And this hurts. It needs attention. So that's acute pain. But if you have that pain, like a back injury, you have that pain for 6 months, for a year. The brain is very efficient, and it knows that's not an efficient way to process pain. So it relegates the processing of that pain from the cortex to the limbic system. And the same place that makes anxiety now is generating that message of chronic pain, whether you have the structural injury still or not. It's being generated from the limbic system. Hence, a pill for anxiety, to calm this down for anxiety, also works to turn off the pain. That's why a back surgeon says, well, rather than surgery, try Xanax for 2 weeks. Let's see what happens. And it works for the vast majority of people. So that's why the CES unit, the calm box, can also work with people with chronic pain, is that it's relocated from other parts of the brain, the cortex, down to the limbic system, and the CES unit works really well on all the things going on inside that part of the brain. So it can do that.
And that's how the patches would work as well. Is that kind of same thing?
I don't know. The patches people say it's about energy flowing through the body.
Got it. Okay.
And not getting jammed up at the side of the pain.
Got it. Okay.
And the calm box people go, no, it's about the
Yeah. But putting them together, I mean that's what we love to do, is to combine these things. Is to go, all right, let's try to use this and then this and then this, because working on just whatever's going on in the body that we just don't know about, but we know that these are helpful. These are helpful tools to be able to use.
Sure, the scientist guy says only do one thing at a time so you know
Yeah.
what works. And the Calm Waves guys are going, we got 5 things that you can try. Use them all because
Yeah.
we don't care what works. We just want works. We
Yeah.
just we just want the result.
And I feel like with what kind of our way we go about it too is these things are very low side effects. I mean, that's another big part about it. Is as soon as you start getting into medications, or we'll talk about this later, but on ketamine or psychedelics that people are going to, especially in these kind of extreme kind of situations, or trauma. When you talk about extreme, it's more of, hey, this really big bad thing kind of happened. I think what I love about these types of products is, yeah, they're low. If they're going to work quickly. That's one thing. You don't wait 6 months and be like, well, let's see what happens in 6 months. It's the patches. Steve used it and had it happen within a minute, but
Same day, same minute. Yeah,
but that probably won't happen for everybody. It might be a couple days or kind of taking but he's also in an extreme situation too. That's what we've seen is the more extreme it is, the more you can feel it, right away.
that's right.
I had a guy who I actually love to have on this podcast. He's working with some kids out at called Canyon State. It's a mental health facility it's kind of an alternative school for kids that are either literally it's places where parents can't handle their kids, and so they send them there, or it's an alternative school for kids that are outside of like the foster care system. I've been there before, even before he talked about it. It's kind of like a military school, but he works there and does some therapy out there, and he used the Calm box on one of his kids. And, the kid came in super deregulated, gave him a Calm box, had him try it on. Kid regulated, worked through a core memory, and then the kid fell asleep. And, because the brain was regulated, because, his system's, all over the place, but because it was massaged and he was able to work through this time. So it's just amazing to see what the brain does when it gives it a little bit of a push, or a massage in a way of being able to heal itself. So
Absolutely.
and
And like you say, no side effects because the patches don't put anything into you,
mhm,
so there's no medication
yeah,
interaction. The CES unit, no medication interaction.
hmm
The direct neural feedback, the medication might mess up a direct neural feedback session, but the direct neural feedback's only going to make the medication work better.
yeah,
So that's the interaction is after a while, somebody might need less Ritalin or
well,
Adderall, less anxiety medication, less because it's making the brain work better.
and then I think that those are the kind of the two journeys, is being able to say somebody who is on this journey of how do I find help, and they don't want to have medication. Here are products that you can use that don't require any medication. And the people who are on medication that are trying to get off of it, hey, you know what? You know, here's things you can do, and hopefully you can lower your dose. So, but the products themselves don't have any side effects, except, the direct neurofeedback. What we've seen is they get sleepy. I think one time I had someone use the CES unit Calm box. He said he felt a little anxiety by using it, but he was also a skeleton sledder guy. Guy goes head first down. So he said
Yeah,
he
yeah,
had concussions every week. Like he said, so many concussions. And so we just had to move it from here to here, and it helped. So I think, going through, there's always edge cases for things, but when it comes to low side effects, high upside, these products seem to have a very big correlation between the two, rather than, high side effects, with that upside type of a thing.
yeah. There's a big ceiling and there's not much of a downside to
Yeah.
them.
Being cost effective too. Uh, patches are, what is the cost for patches
Yeah, so you can figure, well, it depends on how much you want.
to get
I
started?
guess yeah, 300 a month for an athlete who wanted to perform better. The minimum would be like 100 a month just
Okay.
for the stem cell patch. And so for old people like me, I think many would start at 100 a month and
Mhm.
say, I'm just going to do it for a year, see what happens. But for an athlete, it ends up being like 300 a month to, yeah, I want this patch and that patch over there. And then after I work out, I want this glutathione patch to help me recover faster. They're athletes, so they want everything they can get. 300 a month.
What would you say for maybe a college athlete, maybe who can't do the 300 a month, but you can do 100 a month to
Well,
try to do it?
the stem cell patch and the energy patch together would be like 160 a month. The stem cell patch and its sister patch that also shows muscle gain, fat loss, strength gain, that would be, I think they sell it for $175 together a month. Well, under $200 a month for two legit good products. The pain patches, once you're in, you're in the system, the pain patches are like $65, $70 a month.
And for an
And
athlete, would you
but Steve,
recommend different?
Steve, I'm sorry, but Steve, 1 month supply is going to last Steve 4 months because he doesn't use them every day.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sorry.
No, you're good. So for an athlete, kind of looking at this, would you say there'd be a different protocol for in season versus off season too, where you got in season, you're more working on longevity and recovery, and then off season you're working more on like gains type of a thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you could use different patches in season or off season. Or if you're a professional athlete and you get paid to be
Yeah.
awesome,
Yeah.
then you would just buy the whole kit and caboodle, and it would be a matter of what you're wearing in the daytime and then what you wear at night to recover faster.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That might be
Absolutely.
more like, 400 a month. I don't know. But yeah. And I'm thinking, I guess, and I'm pricing that based on like what mom and I are using.
Yeah.
That's two of them, right? So one professional athlete, yeah, it could do quite a program. It's really interesting. All the stuff that they could do
Mhm.
that would be Navy SEAL professional athlete kind of stuff. It's pretty incredible, really.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see even with college athletes, guys who are up there, how much they're spending on their body or being able to bring this into a university too, making it available for their athletes to be able to kind of use to be another.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk to Nate at Texas Christian Monday, and we're gonna chat a
Oh
bit. We talk
yeah.
every 10 days or so, and then really need to talk to our good friend over there at TCU,
Yeah.
and she needs to know about this. Maybe just send her the podcast when it's all done. But it is something that university and their future performance center and for their
Yes.
football program specifically could do, just like a brain health and performance
Hmm.
center. They could do.
And a lot of this, I think, is just that education gap too. Is what's out there. I mean, new technologies and new processes are brought on because people try stuff out, and they I think you know trial and error. I mean, I don't know if you saw the star show that happened. Was it this morning? Elon Musk threw up his rocket this morning and it blew up. Uh,
Oh no, I didn't know that because he just landed one yesterday.
he landed one yesterday. It was great, but no, it was the big one. It was the big one that he's trying to get up there. And so he landed. Oh no, that was yesterday. You're right. He landed the big rocket. It came back down to Earth, but the
Yeah.
top part blew up, and so it came up over the. But it's kind of like these types of products that we're using is we're combining a lot of these different things. So okay, what works, what doesn't, and and we'll see how that goes. But it's people being able to be willing enough to say, yep, let's go use this in this space. Yeah, no one's ever done this before, but let's do it in this space. And that's always the conversations we always run up against, even if it's TCU, Missouri, all these places that we've gone up. People are just on the inside going, well, I've never heard of this before, so therefore it doesn't work. And so that's always the part to get through. the more stories of Steves and um, people that want to be a part of this. I mean, it's amazing that there's so much research studies out there already on this to being able to be brought up and just be like, hey, we can educate you on this, and then do protocols. Here's the protocol. If you've got a, that's the other part about it. Is just creating the game plan, the weekly schedule. Okay, you're going to take this patch when you're doing this. Boop, put it on. So they don't have to learn anything about that. So that's what we're able to come in and say. All right, here's the situations you need to use it to be the most
Yeah,
efficient as possible.
that's right. It's not real hard.
Mm.
The patches are not real hard. I mean, this is on my hand only because, I mean, I could just put them here
Mm.
every day. I mean, that's not hard. But me, I'm like, what else is out there? How do I tweak this a little bit more? So I'm looking at this acupuncture
Yeah.
site, and they're like, well, put it here and here today. I go,
Yeah.
okay. So you don't have to do that. I don't know if I'm getting anything more out of it, but I am seeing differences that health-wise are significant.
And you can't. I mean, you have to rule out placebo with it because you can't. I mean, put a patch on and you're going to go, oh, my skin just grew better. Like that'd be a weird thing to have happen. We're not even thinking about it.
Yeah. Well, wouldn't happen. Placebo
Yeah.
wouldn't
Yeah.
do that. But you're right. I mean, placebo is always a thing, and that's why the company is more than happy to post 90 different research
Yeah. Yeah.
studies
Yeah.
everywhere from like brain mapping stuff to showing brain maps change over a
Mm-hmm.
period of 30 days or 60 days to blood levels changing to there actually were studies with two different college football programs, their athletes, what they could do in the weight room and how much more they could do them. The first study, which I thought was pretty interesting, is they put these energy patches on and they studied them that day. They got a baseline over the previous week. They put these patches on and go, okay, do this. And the athletes made gains that day. But when they wore them for 30 days, they had far more gains, and 60 days, far more gains. So, but that day, and some of these patches, they put them on people, and they draw blood before they put them on. They put them on. 2 hours later, they're drawing blood and going, your blood is different now than it was 2 hours ago.
Kind of
So
like, go ahead. No, go ahead.
yeah, so there's research on them, kind of like the Calm box, where you can go to stress.org and they have a whole section on CES technology with 200 research papers published there. So, when you go find a lot of research on something, even the research that says, we didn't see any gain, right? That, they did it with cyclists and
Mm.
they got their baseline. The next day they put it on and they were looking for gains now. And the day we put the patches on, we didn't see any gains. Didn't see any
Mm.
deficits. Didn't see anything. But they didn't measure what if we'd worn it for a week or they wore it for a month
Mm-hmm.
or we wore it for 2 months. Do that. There's no doubt that some researchers come into research with a preconceived idea of what they want. I remember the early studies on neurofeedback. I mean, the first things we were doing with neurofeedback 35 years ago was close your eyes and make your brain quiet, and we can give you a subtle signal, and you can learn how to make more alpha brainwave activity in your brain. We can teach you in a week to do what a guru learns how to do in 15 years, 40 years, 40 years of Zen. We can teach you how to do it. So I remember seeing one research study that said, no, it doesn't happen. It's fake. This whole thing is a joke. But when you looked at what they were doing, their protocol was they had people doing this same protocol, but with their eyes open. And subjects with the eyes open couldn't make alpha activity like the other research studies could do with eyes closed. And that's because, by and large, you have to have your eyes closed to make that particular waveform, unless you're an Olympic archer or an Olympic long gun shooter, or you work, this is the other thing I found, you're a sniper for the military or a sniper as a prison guard. And those people have learned how to make that waveform with their eyes open. But outside of that, it's really hard to do. So the guy knew he wanted to have a research paper saying it doesn't work. And he went in there and just said, how can I make it not work? Just do your eyes open. And nobody could do it with their eyes open. So that was like 30 years ago. I read that paper and said, not everybody's honest in this world, but you can't fake good. It's really hard to fake good. You can fake bad, but it's really hard to fake good. It's really hard to get an athlete to lift 20% more by giving them a magic feather,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's really hard to do that. Maybe you could, but it's really hard to do that. So faking good, you can't really fake being able to do something you've never done before. Something has to help you to do that. And it could be adrenaline from fear, it could be, something, but something has to help you to do that. But you can fake bad all day long. So that's how I see research, is when I have 88 research papers looking at these improvements. Like, you can't fake having your blood change.
Yeah, I mean, those are objective things. That's what I was going to ask is there's some companies that come out with brain tech, and they'll be like, oh, 90% of the people felt better. And then you look at the research that they did, and it's like, oh, well, it was our study that we did, and we had 10 people, and they tried it, and they said they felt better. That's a subjective
self-report. It's all self-report.
Self-reporting type of a thing. Like, I felt better, which is a good thing. I mean, if you have someone do that, but doing a blood draw, you can't fake that. Brain scans, you can't fake that. I mean, you can kind of, figure out how to manipulate that sometimes, but over a course of a long time, you can be able to kind of see how brain scans look better. But yeah, that's it's a huge thing with research side of things, is to make sure that it's trying to do something objective. HRV is a big thing now, being able to heart rate variability. Does that go up? And we've seen lots of people use the direct neural feedback or the CES unit, and their HRV goes up on their Whoop. And they're like, yeah, it's telling me I'm doing better. We didn't cause that, we didn't, manipulate them to have that happen. It just did it because it worked.
Because it worked. That's right. And like Matthew talking about deeper sleep, you got the best sleep scores you'd ever had.
Yep.
And heart rate variability goes up, which is a good thing, right? I mean, for those who don't know, it's a good thing. And it means when your heart should slow down, it slows down. When it should speed up, it speeds up. And there's more variability in your heart rate. Where some people get stuck, it's just fast all the time. And then there's no low variability. So yeah, I mean, there are different measures that people can see, and we like that. I mean, if you can't measure it, how do you know it's happening?
Yeah. No, I think I think introducing this type of technology into our repertoire is super exciting, and being able to have, people use it. So if you're interested in this, please reach out to us about it. We'll be doing some more kind of announcements on it as we've kind of putting it into our repertoire of products, just like we do for the CES unit or the direct neural feedback, or people who are looking to build their own brain health and performance centers. They're serving a large population. How do you introduce this into a large population type of standpoint? So for individuals and for, organizations.
Absolutely. I'm happy to talk to anybody. Dallas and I will sit down with you and talk to you. And I'm serious. If you have a college football program and you want the edge to be in the top 8, please call us tomorrow. Nobody has put all of this tech together in a performance lab yet. And if you want 100 Supermen in jerseys, please do call us.
Yeah, and I keep going on with so much. I've been rereading The Inner Game of Tennis by Tim Galway. And, the biggest thing about what he talks about is just being like kind of the peak performance standpoint is, or with mindset, body's different, but it's being present and being able to keep in that present mindset. And his whole thesis is, okay, this is how you work with self one, self two, self doubt, all those different things, and communicating back and forth. But we see it too. It's just like, okay, that's your front part of your brain versus the back part of your brain. Like
Right. Right.
it's or if it's if you have anxiety start to kick in, okay, it's your amygdala kind of turning on. How do you turn that off? How do you make your brain not wander, and using breathing techniques to be able to do that. So, that's the other part about why these tools all work together so well, is because the ultimate goal is to be at, peak performance. How do you be in the moment for as long as possible too? That's the other thing, is you can be, in it for the first half of the game, but that second half of the game, it starts to go down more than the other guy, you lose. So that's why you don't, offsides in the fourth quarter. All right, let's talk about that. How many times does that hurt a game? Is it physical fatigue that's hurting it, or is it mental fatigue that's hurting it? And if it's physical fatigue, they're just going to run laps. But what if it was mental? That they, he'd snap the ball so many times and just, yep, my count got off. So that's what this does. That's what this program does, is able to help with that, peak performance
Sure.
higher, and then also longevity.
And let me just drill down even a little bit deeper. For if anybody out there is a athletic director watching this, and you're interested in watching this, or part of a program watching this, look, where were your sophomores 5 years ago in 2020 when they locked down the planet? That since COVID, that generation of children and that generation of high schoolers who went through, especially those first 2 years of COVID being locked down, 2020, 2021, homeschooled, lockdown, no football, no youth group, no social interaction except video games. That group of humans in America is experiencing twice as much mental health problems as any other group previous to them, twice as much. So that now 25% of all college athletes in studies report clinical levels of anxiety. Why? Because 5 years before that, people were like, yeah, Billy Joe Bob over there gets anxiety, he throws up before every game, and but the first hit, he kind of gets out of it. So 25% of your athletes, because 25% of everybody in that age group went through COVID lockdowns, and they are experiencing anxiety and other mental health issues like no other generation ever had. So every one of these technologies helps with that. And 10 years from now, it may not be an issue. But this crop of athletes that are in college right now performing in the SEC, in the Big 12, I'd say the Big 10, but it's the Big 2, that this level, the ACC, whatever, these guys is a unique group of players that were COVID lockdown people. And so that's why Brian was telling us about these baseball players in the minor leagues. He's listing these guys in this particular organization that in the seventh inning, sixth inning of a game, they're in the outfield and they just walk off the field and they go, no, I can't do this anymore. And they change their clothes and they leave. They get an Uber and they go. It's a game. They're getting paid to play. And they just walk off. So it's this generation of guys right now who are going through this, and ladies and girls, gymnasts, volleyball players. So this is a unique time in our history of having to deal with these issues, and all of these tools do that. So if you're in a college program, call us like today.
Yep, absolutely. No, I think this was great. I mean, we had two other things we wanted to talk about today, but we're over an hour right now, and I think this was a great conversation. Talk about these patches, introduce it, how they work within the system, and how they can help people. So we'll end it here, and we'll do this again soon.
Great. That'd be fun.
All right.
Good to see you, Dal.
Good to see you.
All right. Bye bye.